I mean, I believe, maybe I'm overestimating the number of neutrinos per second.
It's when the neutrinos stop going through you.
No, but if you start talking about science education, I mean, I think our agenda is like effective science education, right? Mm-hmm. That has so many ramifications, outward.
Well, and it's hard to talk about, science education in the broad. I mean, I think we want people to know some of the concrete things that science education research has to say. There's some seminal studies, for instance, like the Higgs study, or other sort of ideas arising from education research that we want people to be sort of facile with. It's not just sort of this general interactive engagement is important, but learning is social. Like this is something that can help students, it can help teachers. But what are the studies and stories that show us that learning is social, that really help us as researchers understand it, and then would help the public, sort of hook onto that. Like, oh, in this study this happened, but how to get them into that study in a way that's interesting, like they did with the neutrinos.
I want to say one more thing. But the point is, a lot of our educational system is designed to sort people out, and there's a grim reality that a lot of it is to sort people, and to talk as if it's this total feel-good thing where everybody's going to get an A in everything. I like that idea, but that's sort of what you're trying to deal with, this reality that the educational system is very hierarchical. If you go to Harvard, you're all of a sudden everybody thinks you're smarter. I've met a lot of idiots from Harvard, but all of a sudden there's a Harvard professor that they are smarter, right? So that the whole educational system is designed to anoint people in various ways. Who gets into medical school, who does this, who does that. That's a very important reality. One of the reasons we have people take calculus and
but I would argue
chemistry
that
is to sort them.
A lot of the research coming out of education research isn't just about the educational system. It's about fundamental ideas about how we learn, and it's not only about the formal education. So some of those nuggets I think can be interesting to people beyond whether or not the system is the system.
Yeah, but let's be frank. If we're talking about communicating with the public, for the vast majority of the public out there, is it going to make any difference in their day-to-day life, these things?
Realize we've got more than just, the public. I had, a whole bunch of different people,
oh, yeah.
All of whom, we want to try to impact. I just have 2 more slides. I want
to... I do like that one.
That's called Vanna. So one of the other things, and I don't have enough time to get into as deep of a discussion of this as I really like, but as scientists, we tend to start with all the background, information, give some supporting details, and then give our results. We build up. Sorry, I did that the wrong way around. We sort of start with the the sort of literature review, give our supporting details, which is our data, and then give our results. So we're sort of gradually narrowing our message. Whereas when we're communicating with the public, we tend to talk about this inverted pyramid, which is that you start instead with the narrow, you start with the bottom line, what it is your essential message is, say why it's important, which is a bit of the broader context, and then give the supporting details. So if someone stops reading here, they got your message, but they can keep reading to get the supporting details, which is sort of like what you're talking about. Like people remember Carl's violin story. It's good to know that the supporting details are there, but he's starting with some sort of story and some sort of message, and then giving the supporting detail. And so the question that I was interested to discuss, but I want us to be able to end at a reasonable time, was whether or not this inverted pyramid is appropriate, especially because when we're talking to academics, they want to know some of the supporting detail, and do we make it clear up front that we have that data? Do we communicate the data at all? Do we communicate the data in a really simplified form? Like, what is the role of data, which is the sort of supporting detail, in communicating with academics or in communicating with the public? But I'm going to leave that as a discussion for the, it's a whole big can of worms. So this is sort of the summary, which is that a lot of the stuff that we learned makes effective education really does translate to making effective communication. We just have to realize in what ways it does. Building from prior knowledge is about knowing your audience and helping them relate what you're talking about to the familiar or to their everyday knowledge. And using analogies is really key. We didn't really talk about that very much, but that is really about building from where people already are at. Motivation is important. I think we know that that's true, and that's why we want to start with a take-home message or some other way to bring people in and show them why they should keep listening to us. Tantalizing them, like with that spider story, that was a bit of a tantalization, sort of build-up of drama, as opposed to just, he didn't just tell us what he was about to say, he built up to it in a little bit of a murder mystery kind of thing. Remember that people have cognitive load, which is why you want to stick to 3 main points. 3 to 5 is the general rule of thumb for communicating an effective message. Avoiding jargon, using short sentences, use stories, active voice, analogy, simplify. All of these are ways to reduce people's cognitive load and to bring them along with what it is that you're saying. So sorry, that was a different slide. In order to convey a message, you want to define those 3 points, rehearse them, and then use all of those different tools. These main points are available at communicatingscience.AAAS.org, which is a really nice website just about communicating science. And to practice what I preach, my 3 main points are that communication is important. That even we can't educate everybody, but that communication does play a role in building awareness about what it is that we're doing. That we can use what we know about how people learn to craft those effective messages, and that we want to use some of the tools of good writing, like stories and analogy, and being sure to communicate the bottom line in order to really get those messages across. And I just think that it's really important. I'm interested in continuing to talk to people about ways that we can do this effectively. I'm trying to decide whether or not to do some version of this talk for the Puget Sound PDR conference that I've been invited to next spring. So please, if you have thoughts or resources or challenges to any of the things that I'm talking about, please let me know. I will be interested to hear them. So thank you.